Yeah, I don't know what to do about the Zoom lady that talks like that.
Mm.
All right. So we are right at 11. We'll go ahead and start. And I want to welcome our nonprofit leaders today to our live interview. And if you're here, can you please add a comment that just says I'm here so I know who's here? And also I wanted to remind you that our guest today will be sharing his screen for a minute or for a little while. And you'll want to expand your screen so that you can see it better. You can do that either by clicking on the screen, or there might be an icon in the bottom right that allows you to do that. Now, give me 1 second to hit this. Okay, this is where I told you that all of a sudden I get sound. Oops. This is what I told you that all of a sudden. Sorry. There. So annoying. Okay. All right. Now, our guest today, folks, is Jeremy. Jeremy, is it Stilb?
Jeremy Stilb, yep.
Jeremy Stilb, thank you. From Ashwell Sexual Health and Wellness, and Jeremy is their marketing and media manager. Welcome, Jeremy. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is really fun.
Good. So could you tell us a little bit about Ashwell Sexual Health and Wellness? What does your nonprofit do?
So we are a few things. The main thing is we work in HIV prevention and treatments and general sexual health and well-being. We work with all different types of people. There's a majority of a queer patient base, as well as a lot of cisgender women. And kind of what our focus is currently is distributing PrEP, which is a daily pill that, if taken correctly, prevents HIV by over 99%. We also offer HIV treatment for people that are positive. And then we also do Hep C treatment, which through this month plus long, round of the prescription actually cures hepatitis C.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So you're going to talk about using multiple marketing strategies to reach different audiences. Can you tell us what you mean by that and why it's important? And if you'd like to share your screen, I believe you can just go ahead and do that.
Cool. Yeah, I'll touch on that first, and then I'll share my screen. I started pretty early on when Ashwell was formed. It used to be called the Right House, which was an organization that started in the early 90s, and then they completely rebranded about 3 years ago. I came in probably 6 months after the rebrand, and they had a logo that I felt okay about. I didn't love. And so I kind of convinced them to clean it up a little bit and just make it a little more sleek. And then it used to be red and blue. And then I convinced them to go to black and white. And it was good, but a lot of our audience are younger, sexually active people, queer people. And I started using a lot of out of the box, kind of sometimes raunchy humor. We're talking about sex, but that was what we found was really effective. But at the same time, we're still a nonprofit. We still, offer medical services. So it's about striking a balance. And I just felt like the logo was good when we're, educating people or doing outreach with other nonprofits. And then I started playing around with the logo and working with different artists and just allowing them to reimagine it to fit the artwork of what they were doing. And I started to just think, okay, well, what if we had 2 different logos, and one was more a professional nonprofit one, which is, the one that we're already using. And then I worked with a friend and a really incredible designer, Ian Orth, who actually works as a concert promoter as well as a graphic designer. And he came up with something that feels pretty rock and roll. And so let me share my screen. So these are the two logos. The one on top is our official logo that we've had for almost 3 years now. And the one beneath, I refer to as our nighttime logo or our outreach logo. And so when we're doing branding that's more funny or sex positive, we use the bottom one. And when we do outreach at bars and clubs, our tablecloth has the bottom outreach nighttime logo. All of our, swag has it. Our t-shirts has it. And then when we're doing things like education fairs, or we're part of a vaccine drive that Austin Public Health put together, we have a little more formal presentation of our materials. So that's where the tablecloth with the logo on top is used. And I'm going to show also 2 different brochures. This is our brochure. So, this is laid out for the printer. So if you can imagine, the right panel is the cover, the middle panel is the back cover, and then the left panel is the inside flap. And then when you open up the brochure, it's all of this text. And, it's clean, it's forward. And we want to present ourselves as, a professional nonprofit. So that's, when we're at health fairs or working with other nonprofits, to allow them to learn about what Ashwell does and what our services are. But then when we're at bars, we use, this is new, but we will be using this brochure that, I worked with an illustrator. It kind of feels like a comic book. We're using some kind of naughty language a little bit, it's a little more provocative. And so we use these different approaches depending on who the audience is, to keep people engaged, because I just felt like when we're trying to talk about sex and HIV prevention, having really staid kind of boring things was really limiting. And I didn't want us to be tasteful. We're talking about a touchy subject, but I have found you can talk about sex as long as you're being funny. And so we have this kind of campy approach. And then when I had this new logo, it just really creatively freed me up to really go for it. And people have really responded. We've gone from, when I started, there was, I think, 80 patients. And now I think we've have about over 1,200.
Wow.
And our Instagram is pretty popular. We have an educational video that is like a raunchy Sesame Street with puppets explaining, what the prescriptions are. That has over 100,000 views now.
Wow.
And just taking this approach of being really tongue-in-cheek and irreverent, and just talking to people in plain terms about sex has been really effective. These are our outreach shirts that the Ashwell staff wear. And then when they do more formal outreach or fundraising type of things, they use that traditional logo. So it's kind of unconventional. I came to it just through trial and error and some intuition and experimentation. I don't actually have a traditional marketing background. I got into HIV prevention because I was working as a DJ and an event producer, and started putting on fundraisers for different organizations in town, and just kind of started to learn about it through that, and then got hired as a marketing person for a different organization. And so, yeah, it's just been learning by being out in the field and seeing what people respond to.
It's interesting because there's an acknowledgement that you have to appeal to potential clients, as well as fundraisers or donors or maybe more traditional folks.
Right.
And so, and it seems like honesty in advertising, I really like how honest your advertising is, but also balanced with recognition that you need to engage other types of audiences. So how did you figure out, I know you said bars and then you also said Instagram, but how did you figure out where these audiences are living so that you could push out the right type of brands and advertising materials to the right folks?
They're my friends. It's people that I hang out with, the people that we need to reach to let them know that they should be taking PrEP or to get tested for HIV and know their status. I'm a gay man. Before PrEP, I would be considered at risk and my friends would be considered at risk. So it was really, truly just understanding what would appeal to me.
Mhm.
And, people are making connections at bars and I was DJing in bars and it all just kind of intersected, just these different things in my life. And so hanging up posters or tabling or putting on events is something we also do. In July, we did a party. There was a drag show called Halloween Do-Over. Because of COVID, we missed, our last Halloween. And so we told everyone just get dressed up and we had a costume contest and we covered the whole club in spider webs and spooky stuff. And, it was like very tongue in cheek, but it was a lot of fun. And then again, the drag hostess kept shouting out Ashwell and explaining our services. Because if you have a drag queen with a microphone in her hand, everyone's going to listen to her. And then we were tabling in the back. And I think it was one of the first times we used our nighttime branding and had all these really funny pieces of promotional material, magnets, stickers with all those different characters. I operate under the understanding that it should be entertaining the way that Budweiser or Chevrolet makes funny commercials. People will watch things or want to look at them, or they'll want to wear your t-shirt if it's fashionable, if it's funny, if it's entertaining. A lot of times I think nonprofits depend on, oh, it's a good cause and you should just support the cause because you care about this. And I operate within a space that we have to convince people. I'm not going to operate under the assumption that people are going to care. And it's my job to, I don't know, seduce people. That's advertising, is to keep them engaged by being provocative, sometimes a little controversial, being funny, bright, colorful, just the things that I've seen work in popular advertising or in entertainment or on MTV, or just the way things work on Instagram and TikTok, just with people organically creating entertainment.
Do you use Facebook at all?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't think it is. One, I don't like Facebook for their politics. So just personally, I'm not a fan of it. But also there's just no organic reach through our business page. We'll post something and we get no engagement, even really cool posts. And so I've kind of just given up on it. And I almost entirely depend on Instagram now.
Okay, and so I think I was mentioning to you before we started that these various platforms also have various age groups that use them. And it seems maybe you're also appealing to age groups that are relevant. I mean, to go from 80 to 1,200 patients, of course, the platforms were different. Maybe Instagram, and what else did you say? Instagram and TikTok?
We don't use TikTok, but I just find it inspiring how people create content that's meant to entertain. So I've learned a lot from just seeing how TikTok works. But yeah, I mean, the audience we're trying to reach as far as HIV risk, the people that are getting new positive results are kind of in their mid 20s.
Okay.
So the demo we're reaching is 18 to 45 is kind of who I'm trying to get to be aware of our services. So Instagram it just lends itself to that age group. I'm sure eventually if we want to stay with the times, we might need to migrate to whatever is cool right now. And I am not on top of the new trends, I will say, like TikTok, I don't quite know how we would translate what we do to something like that unless we do make funny videos and stuff, so we could put our content there, but it would have to be less than a minute, which sometimes is hard because we need to get a lot of information out. So, it's all a balancing act.
Well, listen, thank you, Jeremy. We're right at our time to end, and I know it always flies by, and I have other questions, but I guess I'll have to wait. I'd like to remind everybody that next week we have Ellie Van Laar, who's going to help us transform conflict into collaboration. So please join us next week on our live 15-minute interview on next Tuesday. And again, Jeremy, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it.
I am so happy to be here to talk about this. It was really fun. Thank you for this opportunity.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers. Have a good day.
Cheers.